It had started like any other Thursday. I was halfway through folding laundry when my phone buzzed. Zayan's name lit up the screen. A call, not a text. Rare. I picked up immediately. His voice was low and unsteady. "Hey, are you home?" "Yeah," I said, already sensing something was off. "Everything okay?" A pause. Then, "Can I come over? I just don't want to be alone tonight." 10 minutes later, he was at my door, hood up despite the dry skies, hands shoved deep into the pockets of his worn jacket. His smile was strained, a fragile mask hiding something heavy. I didn't ask questions. I just stepped aside and let him in. Zayan and I had been best friends since college. Years of inside jokes, late-night calls, weekend drives with no destination. Somewhere along the way, my affection had shifted. It wasn't sudden. It wasn't even dramatic. It was like a slow leak from a faucet, unnoticed until it flooded everything. But I never told him. He dated women. We never crossed that line. Still, a part of me wondered if he felt something too, in the way he'd sometimes look at me too long, or how he'd lean in a little closer when talking. Maybe I read too much into it. Maybe I wanted. He dropped his bag on the floor and sank into the couch like he was folding into himself. "Anya and I fought again," he mumbled. I nodded and sat beside him, careful to keep a gap between us. "Bad?" He let out a sharp breath, not quite a laugh. "Same fight, different night. She thinks I'm emotionally unavailable, that I don't know what I want. And do you?" His eyes flicked to mine, then away. "No. Maybe. I don't. No." We sat in silence. The kind of silence that felt heavy, like it wanted to say something but didn't know how. I turned on a movie more for background than distraction. Something familiar. Something quiet. Eventually, he relaxed, toes tucked beneath him, arms folded tight. I passed him a blanket. Our fingers brushed. He didn't pull away. Halfway through the movie, he shifted to lie down, head resting near my thigh, eyes fluttering shut. "You're the only person I feel safe with," he said, not quite awake. "With you, I don't have to pretend." Stayed still, heart hammering. The room was dim, lit only by the flicker of the screen. His words echoed, reverberating inside the walls I'd built to keep my feelings in check. I wanted to ask what he meant. I wanted to believe he meant me. But I didn't. Instead, I sat there, running a hand lightly through his hair, something I hadn't done in years. He didn't stop me. He let out a quiet sigh and murmured, "Don't leave." "I'm not going anywhere," I whispered, meaning every word. It was nearly 2 a.m. when I gently nudged him awake. "Come on, the couch isn't comfortable. You can take the bed." He frowned, still drowsy. "Where will you sleep?" "I'll take the couch. It's fine." He sat up and blinked slowly, as if deciding something. "Share it with me?" I hesitated. My heart stumbled. "You sure?" He nodded. So we ended up under the same blanket, backs turned at first, space between us filled with unsaid things. But over time, the silence drew us closer. His shoulder brushed mine. He didn't move away. He spoke in a hush, words soft and unsure. "What if I told you I feel lost sometimes, like I'm living someone else's life? I'd say I understand. And what if the person I actually need has always been right here?" I turned toward him, but he didn't face me. I couldn't see his expression, only his breath, fogging the cool air between us. "Zayan," I said quietly, almost afraid to break the moment. "What are you saying?" He didn't answer, just shifted closer, shoulder to shoulder now, warmth shared in a way that felt like more than friendship. "Didn't sleep that night. Not really. My eyes were closed, but my mind ran in loops. Around his words, his closeness, that fragile maybe. Morning would come, and I didn't know what it would bring. But for now, he was beside me. For now it felt real, and I couldn't help but wonder, was this the start of something I had waited for, or a beautiful lie I was too willing to believe? The night hummed with a silence that felt too full, like it was waiting for something to happen. The streetlights outside cast a pale amber glow through the curtains, softening the edges of the room. Beside me, Zayan shifted under the blanket, his breathing quiet but restless. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the rhythm of it. We lay side by side, not touching, but closer than we'd ever been in sleep. The bed felt too small for the questions crowding my mind. He turned slightly, his voice barely audible. "Do you remember that night senior year when we stayed up until sunrise talking about the future?" "Yeah," I whispered. "You said you'd probably be single forever because you fall too hard for the wrong people." I smiled faintly. Still true. I didn't ask who it was then. I thought I knew, but now I'm not sure. I swallowed, throat dry. "And who did you think it was?" He was silent for a long beat. "I thought it was Anya." "It wasn't. It never had been." He rolled onto his side, facing me. Our eyes met in the dim light, his expression unreadable. There was a rawness in him I hadn't seen before, a kind of vulnerability that both pulled me in and made me afraid to move. "I've been thinking," he said slowly, "what if the reason I keep messing things up with her is because I'm not looking in the right place?" I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. I just waited. "You've always been there," he continued, voice fraying at the edges. "You never judged me. You never walked away. That's what friends do." "Maybe," he said. "But what if it's more than that?" The words hung between us like fragile glass, beautiful and dangerous. I sat up slightly, trying to see him better. "Are you saying—" "I don't know," he cut in, sitting up too. "I don't know what I'm saying. When I'm with you, things feel right. Not perfect, not easy, but right." My heart was racing, all logic dissolving under the weight of a hope I'd buried for too long. I reached out, slowly, fingers brushing his hand. He didn't flinch. He let me. Our hands lingered, a quiet electricity in the contact. He looked down at them, then back at me. "Does this scare you?" I asked. "More than anything," he admitted. "But you don't want to pull away?" "No." We stayed there, close but careful, like two people at the edge of something too big to name. For a second, I thought he might kiss me. He leaned in, only slightly, eyes flicking down to my lips. My breath caught. But then he stopped, pulled back. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I shouldn't be doing this. I'm just confused." Nodded, trying to keep my face still, even as disappointment pooled inside me. "It's okay." He lay back down and turned away from me. The distance between us reopened, more painful now than before. "I didn't mean to lead you on," he added softly. "You didn't," I lied. "We're just tired. That's all." He didn't reply. I stared at the ceiling again, but now the silence was different, sharper, heavier. I felt foolish, like I'd let a dream walk too close to the truth, and now it was slipping through my fingers. He was right there beside me, but it had never felt lonelier. Eventually, I closed my eyes, but sleep didn't come. I replayed his words over and over, trying to make sense of the half-formed confession and the fear in his eyes. Was it real? Or just a moment of weakness? I wanted to believe there was something real in it, a hidden truth waiting to be acknowledged. But deep down, a part of me had already started bracing for the possibility that he would wake up tomorrow and pretend none of this happened, that it would go back to being friendship and only friendship, with every almost moment between us locked in a place we never talked about. And still, despite everything, I wasn't ready to let go of the idea. The next morning arrived with a kind of forced normalcy. He meant it. Sunlight slipped through the curtains, casting quiet patterns on the floor, as if trying to pretend the night hadn't happened. I got up before Zayan, moving through the kitchen with careful, soundless steps, hoping the clatter of mugs or the hum of the kettle might steady my thoughts. I didn't know what we were now. Not exactly friends, not yet anything more. Somewhere in the fragile in-between. A space where words hadn't caught up to feelings and actions hadn't dared cross into certainty. Zayan emerged 15 minutes later, hair tousled, t-shirt creased, eyes heavy with sleep. He looked younger somehow, softer. He offered a faint smile as he sat across from me at the kitchen table, wrapping his hands around the warm mug I placed in front of him. "Thanks," he murmured. I nodded, unsure what to say. The air between us was still charged, but different now, tense with everything we weren't saying. He cleared his throat. "About last night." I looked up, already feeling my chest tighten. "I didn't mean to confuse you," he said carefully. "I was emotional. I shouldn't have—" "You don't have to explain," I interrupted, trying to spare us both. "It was late. You needed comfort. I get it." "No," he said quickly, leaning forward. "I mean, yes, I was confused. But also, no, that's not the whole truth." He paused, fingers tightening around his mug. "I meant what I said. I feel different when I'm around you, safer, like I can breathe without pretending." I held his gaze. But, I don't know what to do with that," he admitted. "I've built this idea of who I'm supposed to be, and you don't fit into that picture." His words stung, even though I understood what he meant. I'd lived my entire life in the shadows of shoulds and supposed tos. But hearing it from him, someone I'd trusted with so much, felt like being held at arm's length by the one person I wanted to pull closer. "You don't have to decide anything right now," I said, voice steadier than I felt. "But you do have to be honest, with me and with yourself." He nodded slowly. "I know. I just don't want to hurt you." I almost laughed. Too late for that. The silence that followed was sharp and brittle, but it gave way to something else, a mutual understanding that we couldn't pretend this wasn't real anymore. Whatever it was between us, it wasn't just in my head. It lived here now, between every look and every pause and every word we left unsaid. Later that afternoon, he got a call. I knew it was Anya before he even answered. His whole posture shifted, shoulders tense, voice clipped. He stepped out to take it, pacing the hallway. I stayed behind, trying not to listen, failing anyway. "I just needed space," he was saying. "No, I didn't stay with her. I stayed with a friend." "Yeah, him." I couldn't hear her side, but I imagined the silence that followed. "No," he said after a pause. "No, I didn't do anything. It's not like that." Except it was. When he came back, his face was unreadable again. He sat down, quiet for a moment, then looked up. "I think we're done," he said, more to himself than to me. "Me and her." I didn't respond. I didn't know what I was supposed to feel. Relief? Guilt? Hope? "Was it because of last night?" I asked finally. "Partly," he said. "But mostly because I realized I've been lying, to her, to myself, maybe to you too." "And now?" "I don't know," he admitted. "Now I'm scared, but I'm tired of pretending, of pushing you away." I wanted to believe him. Every part of me ached to believe him. But this wasn't a moment for dreams or maybes. This was real, and it had consequences. "You don't have to have it all figured out," I said. "But if you're going to stay, you can't keep running. Every time it gets complicated. He nodded. I don't want to run anymore. And for the first time since he walked through my door, it felt like we were standing on the same side of something. Still shaky, still uncertain, but no longer pretending we didn't see it. A week passed, slow and quiet, like the world had lowered its voice around us. Zayan stayed, not out of obligation or confusion, but something quieter, like he was waiting for his own truth to settle inside him before speaking it aloud. We spent our days in silence sometimes, other times talking for hours about everything but the thing that mattered. His presence was steady, comforting, and yet I could feel the questions sitting beneath our conversations like stones at the bottom of a river. Then one night, I found him on the balcony, sitting cross-legged under a sky full of stars. He looked up as I stepped out, his face caught in the hush of midnight. "Do you ever think about what life would have been like," he said softly, "if we hadn't spent so much time pretending?" I didn't answer right away. I leaned against the railing beside him and watched the lights flicker in the distance. "All the time," I admitted. He exhaled, a deep, tired breath. "I think I've always known, about me, about how I felt about you. I just didn't have the language for it." I turned to him, heart pounding. "You don't need perfect words," I said. "Just honest ones." He hesitated, then looked up. "I was falling in love with you long before I ever dared to look at you that way." The moment cracked open something in me, an ache I'd kept buried so deep it almost didn't know how to surface. I sat beside him, our shoulders brushing, warmth blooming in that simple contact. "I loved you the whole time," I said, "even when I convinced myself you never could." Zayan let out a soft, almost broken laugh. "I was afraid of ruining what we had, but maybe what we had was already incomplete." He reached for my hand, this time without hesitation. I let him. Our fingers wove together like they belonged there. We didn't need to say much after that. We sat beneath the stars, listening to the city breathe, letting the silence speak the things words couldn't yet carry. But life doesn't pause for tenderness. It tests it, and our first test came just 2 days later. Anya showed up. She came, without warning, appearing at the door like a question I wasn't ready to answer. Her expression flickered between heartbreak and fury the moment she saw Zayan behind me. "So this is where you've been," she said coldly. Zayan stepped forward, but I could feel the tension ripple through his body. "Anya, I didn't invite you here." "I needed answers," she snapped, "and I guess I have them now." "It's not what you think," he started. "Really? Because it looks exactly like what I feared." I moved aside, letting them speak, though every word between them felt like it was being thrown against me too. Anya's voice cracked. "I waited for you to come back. I thought we could fix it. But you were here with him." Zayan didn't flinch. "I didn't lie to you about this. I lied to myself." That silenced her. For a second she looked so small, like she'd been stripped of every illusion she had left. "You should have told me," she said quietly. "You should have told me there was someone else." "I didn't know how to," he admitted. "I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you." She looked at me then, and for a brief, fragile moment, I saw the pain behind her anger. Not jealousy. Loss. She nodded once, slowly. "Take care of each other," she said, before walking away. Zayan closed the door and turned to me, his shoulders slumping. "I didn't want to hurt her," he murmured. "You didn't do it to be cruel," I said. "You did it to be honest." He looked at me with something like wonder in his eyes. "Do you think I deserve this? Us?" I touched his cheek gently. "Not everything good in life has to be earned." Sometimes it just has to be chosen. And he chose. That night, we didn't talk about what would come next. We didn't map out our future or define labels. We just held each other like we had found something worth holding on to. It wasn't perfect. It wouldn't be. But it was real. And that was enough for now.